BJ Mafia, what's poppin'? Jags fans, NFL fans, the Jaguars had an epic and generational collapse in 2023, and I'm going to speak my mind and my heart in this video. I'm going to be raw, unfiltered, and say whatever comes to my mind. So if I say something I shouldn't say, I apologize ahead of time because I'm going to say whatever comes to my mind. Now let's briefly talk about yesterday. The Jaguars had an opportunity to win in your end of the playoffs, and they blew it. They blew it, just like they blew this entire 2023 season, and they all deserve to be ridiculed. The entire fan base deserves better, and it was a generational collapse, to put it plain and simple. This Jaguars team had an opportunity to be back-to-back divisional champions and to host a playoff game versus the Cleveland Browns, and they simply blew it. Yesterday was a culmination of exactly what we've seen from this Jaguars team all season. Even in the games that they were winning, it was never pretty. This Jaguars team couldn't tackle. There was a lack of execution. The game plan was pretty bad. Defensive blown coverages, not converting in the red zone, the offensive play calling and the guys being on the same page, not there. Offensive line and protection was subpar. Trevor Lawrence turnovers, wide receiver miscommunications, or drops that lead to interceptions. Everything that you've seen from the Jaguars all season, even when they were winning, and you said, hey, I know we're winning this game, but the red zone efficiency isn't very good, and hey, this team's not tackling, and hey, the defense, they're kind of getting bailed out with some, lucky and timely turnovers. It all came back to bite us in our ass. After we lost 5 out of our last 6, Trevor Lawrence lost all of his last 5 starts of the season, a guy who's been banged up all year, dealing with a knee, a concussion, a shoulder injury, a left hand injury, and guy's been derailed and beat up. And he definitely has some blame in this, but Trevor Lawrence is a whole other topic for a whole nother day. Everything that the Jaguars did wrong all season, it was on full display in Week 18, and the Titans beat us, and rightfully so. They should have beat us with the way that we performed yesterday. It was so bad, and a couple things that I want to point out is, even though Evan Ingram had a historical tight end season, and I'm not here to rank on him, but that play where the ball is right in his hands on third down and it pops up in the air and it leads to an interception. I think the Titans went down and scored before halftime, and it was 21-10 or 20. Yeah, it was 21-10 before the Jaguars made it 21-13. That right there felt like the game. That right there felt like the entire momentum and the trajectory of this game switched. You cannot make that kind of critical error in that moment with a pass that was right in your hands. Right in your hands. And I'm not, like I said, here to rank on Evan Ingram, but that turned the entirety of the game and it flipped it in favor of the Tennessee Titans. Little things like that is what is ultimately going to cost you the difference between winning and losing and being in the playoffs and not being in the playoffs, even though we were going to get our asses whooped in the playoffs, regardless of who we played probably, with the way that we've been performing. This team is very Christian Kirk reliant, and I'm fine with that, but there are so many things wrong with this team. When you lose 5 out of your last 6, it is more than just a quarterback. It's more than just the head coach. It is the entirety of the organization, top to bottom. And what do they say? What's that old saying? The fish rots from the head down? It's something like that. So from general manager to the head coach to the coordinators to the players, that's just how it goes. And the last thing I want to say with the game that really just pissed me off, 3rd and goal, and you call that play when it's 20-28 on that rollout and Trevor Lawrence has to throw it out of the back of the end zone. That's the play call. You're at the 1-yard line. First of all, it was already a bad spot because Zay Jones had extended his arm. They put it way back, the refs did, at the 1-yard line. That ball should have been a lot closer. Nonetheless, you're going forward on 4th down. Give it a crack. Run the damn ball. Try to put a quarterback sneak. Something. What the hell are we doing? Press Taylor, what the hell are we doing? At the 1-yard line, 3rd and goal, give it a crack. And if you don't get it, cool. You've got 4th and goal. And maybe you have a better chance of Trevor Lawrence extending his arm over because you are far back. You were 3+ feet back. Piss me off. Yesterday was, just like I said, a culmination of exactly what we saw from this Jaguars team all season long. Now let's kind of move off of this game and let's really talk about this team really being a generational collapse. You will not see a professional organization have a better grade A collapse than what the Jaguars did. A 99% chance to make the postseason after having an 8-3 record, and the Jaguars filled into that 1%. That's exactly what they did. This team blew a generational 3-1 lead in the 2016 NBA Finals. That's exactly what we saw on display for this Jaguars team in the back half of the season. And the thing that I pointed out after the Cleveland game, because I said it is time to panic. I'm not saying that the season's over, but I said it's time to panic, and it's starting to realize that this team doesn't have it. And some fans got onto me, not all, but the writing was on the wall with this team. Injury related or not, the writing's been on the wall with this team. This team does not have the heart, and they do not have, I don't want to say the moxie, but they don't show up in big time games. Hallmark games, big time games, they do not show up. Lost to Kansas City at home, lose to San Francisco and got their ass whooped at home, lost to Baltimore, lost to Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals. Who else did they lose to? They got their asses whooped by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then who did we just lose to? The Tennessee Titans. Yes, we beat Houston when we needed to at NRG Stadium. That was a big time win. But for the most part, this Jags team has gotten their ass whooped. This Jags team has gotten their asses handed to them, and rightfully so. This team did not deserve to go into the playoffs, even with yesterday's performance. Even if somehow we would have won that game, this team, from what they displayed all season long, did not deserve to be in the postseason. They are a bunch of pretenders. I've been saying this. Do I want the Jaguars to be bad? Do I want the Jaguars to be pretenders? No, of course I don't. I want this team to go out there and be competitive every single Sunday and to have an opportunity to get into the postseason and to make some noise, at least have the chance. But like I said, from my objective point of view, the writing was on the wall. They were pretenders, and that's why I talked about it. And I'm not here to pat myself on the back because that's not what this is about. I'm just disgusted with how the Jaguars front office handled this offseason with the draft picks that we took and how we handled free agents coming into the building and us not making a move. At 9-8 last year, after making the divisional round of the postseason, Trent Baalke and this Jaguars front office was reluctant to make any big-time moves in order to make this team better. After 9-8 last season, we finished 9-8 again, and this time second in our division to the Houston Texans, who absolutely deserved it. You had Jadeveon Clowney in the building, from what I can recall. You didn't retain him. And with Danielle Hunter and Chase Young, you didn't try to go get those guys via the trade deadline, even though the emergence of Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker was something spectacular to watch this season. The interior of the offensive line, Luke Fortner, Brandon Sheriff, and whoever you want to throw at left guard, Tyler Shatley or Ben Barch or Ezra Cleveland, it was pitiful. Cam Robinson was dealing with injuries all season. Walker Little was dealing with injuries all season long. You spent a second-round pick on Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby, I believe, in the third round, who did little to nothing all season long. You drafted a run-blocking tight end, and you got Tank Bigsby, who was a fumble turnover machine and a guy who was just inept in this offense. The wide receivers, the depth, not good enough. I understand you dealt with a lot of injuries this season. It wasn't good enough. Defensively, you retained a majority of your starters from last season, and guess what? It wasn't good enough. Trent Baalke has his fingerprints all over this mess, and I'm not calling for the guy's job as a topic in a video for another day. We will discuss coordinators, coaches, players, evaluation, and my thoughts on what the Jaguars should do moving forward. But this mess was started from the head down. Press Taylor and the offensive play calling was pitiful all season long. Even in the performances that we were winning, it wasn't good enough. Doug Peterson, it seemed like, excluding yesterday after we had lost, where he took a lot of accountability, wasn't taking enough accountability with the mess that was going on with the organization and the lack of play, because his team at the end of the day lost 5 out of its last 6 games, and they faltered and they were spun, and they did not ever get back on course, and that falls on the head coach too. Mike Caldwell did not have the game planning and the execution properly ready for this team after an incredible start to the season on the defensive side of the ball. This team faltered. The defense was spinning out of control as well too. It was a horrible mess, top to bottom, everywhere you look. General manager, head coach, player, evaluation, schematically, play calling. I mean, there's so many things wrong with this team. And I don't know if Trent Baalke, I don't know if Press Taylor or Mike Calder or any of these guys are going to lose their job. I'm not asking or advocating for these guys to lose their job. Like I said, topic for another day. But it's going to be very curious in these next 48 to 72 hours, see if the Jaguars make any big-time changes. And I think Doug Peterson's the only one's job that's safe, because he's proved enough over the last 2 seasons, even though he has a lot of things to change. I'm really pissed with this team. I'm very pissed with this team. Even though I had already came to the realization after the Cleveland game that this Jags team was not going to compete. This Jags team was going to get their asses handed to them in the postseason, and hell, they didn't even make the postseason. I knew this team was a bunch of pretenders, and yet it still hurts. It still hurts me that we put our heart and soul into this team. We keep up with the team. We listen to the team. I make content for the team. We do all of these things to be invested and spend our money and travel and do all of these great things just for them to, I don't even know. I don't even want to say it because I'm so pissed. I'm so pissed with this team, and I just can't even put it into words. A generational collapse, plain and simple. This Jags team just did not have the heart. They didn't have the soul. Everything that they said that they were going to fix, they didn't. And they clearly didn't learn from their lessons in Kansas City. Trent Baalke did not improve this team. And every opportunity that they had in order to try and improve this team, they didn't. I'm pissed with this team, but you know what? I'm done venting. I'm done ranting. I had to get all of that off of my chest because I just had to express my level of frustration with you guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys are feeling the exact same way as me. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead later this week. I'm going to talk about Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to talk about what the Jaguars should do, who we should let go, and if we should retain some people. I'm going to talk about all of that this week, more so in depth. This was me more so just wanting to vent about yesterday and the season and the culmination as a whole. Very ticked off with this Jaguars organization, and I expect some big changes to happen and a lot of overhaul. Jags fans, NFL fans, please let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. And before I get you guys up and out of here, if you guys are sticking around still, first of all, thank you. But second of all, make sure you guys go ahead and follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. Hit the like bell, hit the subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And Wednesday, I'm back to the podcast, so make sure you guys go ahead and check out the Don't Overthink It podcast with me and Darian Harris. You guys might know him as Chill Takes. The link tree will be in the description down below so that you guys can go ahead and check that out. But look, man, at the end of the day, football is just football. The Jags are gonna jag. And, you know, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Let's try to focus on the college football playoffs. Let's try to focus on the NFL wildcard round and enjoying the last little bit of NFL football that we have, even though it's going to be detrimental to our souls. And let's just focus on the offseason. Jags fans, that's all I want to say for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me vent and rant. Have a great week. Be safe out there. Enjoy the beginning of your 2024 and more content to come along this week. Brett James, a.k.a. BJ. I'm out, y'all. And like always, let's go Jags.